Oh,
Hey everybody, you guys sick of me yet? It's JM again. You guys sick of me yet or what?
Yes. No, we're not.
I am on this broadcast far too much, far more than I deserve.
Let me make sure. Let me not officially, but let me make sure the Fanny Pack Wrestling is. All right.
Yep.
All right.
Hana do set.
Can I also say the soundtrack to our wrestling promotion was quite awesome.
Yes.
Point that out real quick.
Oh yeah.
Drew, into that.
The live music commitment.
I have a lot to say about that.
Drew, did you ever get a chance to listen to Big Big Train?
I have not yet. Mostly because I've been busy trying to get out of McDonald's. So.
Sure. Understandable.
Okay. Books. I got them.
Yes.
Reading is fundamental. Reading.
Got him.
Read a motherfucking book.
Yes, thank you, Bomani.
Telling you, man, it would work.
Bomani Arma. Well, this time it's Bomani Arma. Freaking read a book. Read a motherfucking book.
I'm telling you, you need
not a rapper.
You need to convince your mother. It would work. Convince her. You got to sell it to her.
Wait, what was this?
Oh no, I said he's talking about the fact that he wants me and him to do a podcasting version of Highly Questionable, probably about something else, with me, him, and my mom.
Just like Dan Le Batard and his dad.
And Poppy.
What would we call your mother, Petey?
Cheeky. Her nickname is always Cheeky. She's the youngest of her generation, so it's short for Chiquita, which is the little one.
Cheeky.
Yeah.
All I know about that is bananas, but whatever.
Chiquita bananas. Yeah. They're little bananas.
Rebelli TV is broadcasting live on Channel 3.
Yeah. All right, let me get myself. I should tweet too.
It hath been tweeted and retweeted a couple of times already on the Twitter, on the social media, if you will.
God's bless. Oh wait, no, I just want to click on that.
All right.
So
no more podcast after this for maybe like 2 days for me.
Understood.
No more podcast after this for about 5 minutes for me.
Yeah, but you don't host and produce any, do you?
No. I just spout off like a moron. So.
Natalie, word to the wise. Don't do podcasting. It's addicting. You'll never be able to stop.
Coke. Do Coke, not podcasting. Coke is less addictive.
It's true.
Alright, why is this taking so long?
Or meth, but
don't do
I don't know Oklahoma's drug.
Don't do meth. It's not good for your teeth.
I live in Meth Town.
We have a sizable meth going on over here.
Burn. I got some back.
Whoa, echo.
Alright. That was weird. Alright, let me go back up here. Okay.
I hope I'm not showing my team loyalty too much.
Ain't no wrong with that.
Is that I can't see the number. Is it a Mark Price jersey?
Yup.
That is awesome. I was a fan of Mark Price back in the day.
Dude was fucking awesome. Like the splitting the defender slashing that like all modern point guards do.
Mm-hmm.
Like Price practically invented that shit. Oh, man. There was a rumor that...
Pedro, are we ready?
Yeah, just going to tweet a thing, and then I will get started. I'll press the button. Sequence.
Hope I don't fuck up the show.
Fanny Pack Wrestling is a proud member of DiamondClub.tv and the Freaking Awesome Network.
All right. All right. All right. Okay, enough delaying, enough lollygagging. Let's get started.
Not lollygag.
Yow!
Why is this here? Oh, okay.
Enough stalling. Wait.
What is
Hold
this? What the hell is
Hold
it?
on.
All right, let's go. Wait,
All right.
hold on. I'm not.
Fanny Pack Wrestling in 3, 2, 1. Fanny Pack Wrestling is a proud member of Diamond Club and the Freaking Awesome Network. Check out more great content at diamondclub.tv and freakingawesomenetwork.com. Buenos nachos, amigos, and welcome to another fantastic episode of the Fanny Pack Wrestling Podcast. I'm Petey Rave, your man with no plan. Here with me, as always, is my tag team partner, my best friend, none other than David Jeffrey Majors, a.k.a. DJM. How you doing, Deej?
Buenos tacos, Fanny Pack fans. The good shit Fanny Pack rides once again. On your eyeballs, in your ear holes, and at DiamondClub.tv, we thank you all for watching. PD Rave, what is on the agenda this episode?
So we're going to turn back the clock. We're going to have a throwback Fanny Pack. Throw back the clock.
TBFP.
Yes.
Hashtag.
Talking about old wrestling, or oldie wrestling, or however you want to look at it. And the event, another Extravaganza of Wrestling Exhibitions. It's a very interesting promotion indeed, to say the least. But Deej, who do we have joining us to talk about this?
Joining us for this episode of Fanny Pack, a returning contestant, courtesy of the Record Breakers podcast over at the Rebelling Network, Drew Snyder. What's up, Drucifer?
Not too much. How have you folks been?
Mm-hmm.
Wonderful.
We're doing fantastic. Also joining us is another fantastic returning guest, none other than hailing from the Sooner State herself. I don't know, is there an actual proper state name or something? I'll just call it the Sooner State.
Sooner State.
Yeah. Stormy Sooner herself, Natalie Serjeant. How do you do, Natalie?
Doing well, gentlemen. Doing well. Glad to be here.
Natalie, I do have a question.
Okay.
What exactly is a Sooner?
Well, Oklahoma history lesson. I'll keep it brief. During the land run, there were Boomers and Sooners. And the Sooners decided to go before the gun went off. You know, see, what is that movie with Nicole Kidman and Tom Cruise? Far and Away? Is that it?
Yeah,
I don't know.
Something like that.
But for a visual aid, so.
Interesting bit of history there.
Petey, I just want to toss out, you've already said interesting twice.
Yes. Yes, I'm tired. I've got to rely on the old tropes. I've got to rely on the standbys. Talk about some fun stuff here. Oldie wrestling. Deej, have you heard of oldie wrestling? Old wrestling?
No, I had not, but I will say that in recent years, I had noticed a rather significant influx of wrestlers in the independent wrestling scene that harkened back to a different time, a time long gone by in the world of professional wrestling. And old-time wrestling is taking us back. We're firing up the Wayback Machine. We're cranking up the TARDIS, and we're heading back to the olden days in the world of professional exhibition wrestling.
Yes, with Australian rules, tag matches, and everything. I'll start with you, Natalie. What was your first impression as you started booting this up and started? When this video first started, what was your first impressions of this?
Oh, the kind of like old school, countdown, projection, visual was kind of a clue, and then of course, the on purpose grainy, imagery that was used, and the silent film, like little cards or whatnot, kind of interstitially, between the matches, and yeah. I thought I would be in for a treat, and I was. So.
Yes. Drew, what was your first impression of old wrestling?
Well, every time I come on, I either get the very technical, very let's break down why this is good wrestling sort of wrestling promotion, or I get something where we're going to have a good laugh. And I think right off the bat I knew which I was getting, and that would of course be the latter. I knew I was in for a lot of gimmickiness, so to speak. There would probably be some bad puns. Looking at the film grain, there would be some foreshadowing that would happen about what would happen maybe in the near future, considering the time frame that this might be in, and some jokes of that nature. And that's exactly what I got.
Yes.
From the comedy skit to open, it was having me laugh a good bit. So.
Yes, we started with some preliminary exhibits, with some weightlifting from the Jollyville Jeepers, and some
weightlifting and some exhibition in calisthenics.
Yes.
I'm going into the old-timey voice already. It's already started.
Radio voice. It's like you could have. It's such a fantastic thing, that transatlantic accent. Which, if you want to check out a great video on how that accent, that like old timey accent, was born, I'm gonna say Strickland Tom. Oh my God.
Tom Strickland. How it's made.
Yeah, no, how things work.
How things work, how stuff's made.
Yeah, how stuff's made. Tom Strickland, the man that...
Or is it John Strickland?
John Strickland. John Strickland out of Atlanta. I see him regularly at Dragon Cons. Fantastic dude. I can't believe I forgot his first name. He's a fantastic dude. But he has a great video on the transatlantic accent and how it was born and why and how it was created. So I highly recommend checking it out. It's actually a cool little video. That being said,
Petey, I'm pretty much going to be going in and out of that voice for this episode.
Yes,
just so you know.
Ain't nothing wrong.
I'm hoping one of them.
You know me. You probably have figured out by now that I have a certain thing for announcer-type voices.
Exactly.
So I'm going to be going in and out of this quite a bit.
And we had the preliminary exhibits, and then we get into the first event. We have the first contest. We have Imperial Robert Evans, representing jolly old England in the East India Tea Company, taking on Louis Linden, representing the Luchador contingent. Right off the bat, the old school Luchador contingent. I'll start with you, Natalie. What was your impression of this opening contest?
It was good. It did suffer from this wrestling trope of when props fail spectacularly, they fail spectacularly. though, you just got to keep on trucking. Yes, the net hit him. Of course it did.
Yes.
Just keep on going. Suspend that disbelief.
Yes.
Out of the entire card, it wasn't a bad match, but for some reason it didn't gel in places, which that sometimes happens, even when you have two people who know what they're doing in there. So
Yes,
maybe
yes.
the weakest match on the card.
Possibly. But we still had a little bit of fun, Robert Evans being Robert Evans, but had its weak moments. Drew, what was your impression of the contest?
Like she said, some things misfired, let's say that. But they rolled off of it pretty good. What was also good was it seemed like there was some plants, maybe, because some of the crowd was not getting into it per se. And you want a crowd, even if they're small, to get into it as much as possible. And there was definitely some of that happening, some crowd pushing, as it were, which is good. You really want to think about that going forward with the show, especially if you're doing a production such as this, because that's the first thing that hit me on the first match was the production quality was actually really good. Lots of camera angles, good sound, something I don't always get from you guys. Side note. I understand that's the nature of indie wrestling, but
For like the next big Japan show, whether it's Dragon Gate or something, we'll get Drew for like a really big Japan show.
Yes, exactly.
But like, I'm always a fan of ridiculous masks, so this had something for me already. Yeah, the match maybe didn't go as swimmingly as they may have liked, but there was still some fun to be had, and still let you know the type of wrestling you were about to get into, I guess.
Yeah, it did get us set a good pace, and it was super fun. Deej, I have to ask you, Deej. I don't want to leave you out of it because this is a new experience for you too. Deej, what was your impression of the contest?
Well, first of all, I just want to give a big hello to Michigan native Louis Lindham, exhibiting the lucha libre Mexican style of wrestling, even though he's not Mexican at all.
No.
He was wearing a luchador mask. Also, Robert Evans, a personal favorite of mine, who I adore. I'm always happy to see him. Also, coming into this, I saw the presentation and I immediately realized that this is something that is a long time coming, because as I said, there is quite an abundance of old-timey wrestling gimmicks in the indie wrestling scene in recent times, and I was especially pleased to see that there was a commentator really underrated, Derek St. Holmes, coming to this. He's really good. I like him a lot, and of course, it would not be an indie wrestling promotion without Bryce Remsburg as referee.
Exactly. He is indie wrestling senior official. Bryce Remsburg.
Leads me to a question, Petey Rave.
Yes.
Why is no one saying anything about the fact that Bryce Remsburg clearly can time travel? If he was able to be the senior official for old wrestling and being basically the senior official of all modern indie wrestling east of the Mississippi, is no one saying anything about that?
I think we're just accepting that he is a Time Lord.
All right. Okay.
Yeah. It's just a fact.
Petey, show title: Bryce Remsburg, Time Lord.
Bryce Remsburg, Time Lord.
Sure, why not? That's what I said. That's what I meant.
Yes.
Son of a bitch.
Yes, and that was a fun contest. Bryce Remsburg is fantastic. Then that leads us to the following contest, the tag team.
Also, Drew, and I don't know if you caught this as well. This is in Norwalk, Ohio.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And I went through this entire show, and I noticed quite a few guys from the Michigan Indy scene on this show that I'm going to point out throughout the show. So I realized this show actually may not be very far away from me. So I don't
Norwalk, I don't believe is that far. In fact, like
it's like an hour and 40 minutes, I believe.
Yeah, I was like,
We've clocked it.
yeah, it's It's really close to me, actually. I've been, like, this looks exactly like every county fair in Northeast Ohio.
Yeah, they do they have I think like 2 shows a year, and one of them is this at this place, and the other one is a place right in Cleveland, like just outside of Cleveland. There's a specific like old timey like bowling alley that I don't remember the name for, but you probably
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Like all the punk rock bands used. Oh fuck.
yeah, it's a name. We can look it up in a moment, but it's there. It's like the 2
All the
shows.
punk rockers used to go there. I know what you're talking
Also,
about.
one other thing about this match, Robert Evans, the Imperial Robert Evans of the British East India Company, he's a big game hunter, as they said, who has traveled to all sorts of interesting wrestling-related locations, including deepest, darkest Africa, where he possibly is an associate of Kim Chi, who, of course, is the handler of Kamala, the Ugandan giant.
Yes.
For you pro wrestling fans that appreciate the inside jokes.
Yes. All right. Taking it into the next contest.
Wait,
we
no,
have-
Petey.
Yes.
We need to talk about the Sheik.
Yes.
We
Oh
need
wait.
We need to talk about the post match for this,
Yeah.
where we got introduced to the real world champion, the
Yes.
real world's wrestling champion, Sheik Caden Assad. His name is Caden, everybody, because apparently somebody lost Arya Davari's phone number and could not get Arya Davari booked on the show, and I'm guessing Sean Davari is probably under contract to Lucha Underground, so he probably couldn't make it either. So they just found some dude. They were probably near a thrift store somewhere in Ohio, and were able to find an appropriate outfit and create Sheik Caden Assad.
Yes.
I'm gonna let you in on a
Petey.
secret.
Petey, before you do that, Drew, I just want to say, this guy was whiter than me.
That's pretty white. That's pretty
It
white.
is. I
She
mean,
did. Masab was pretty white. And as I was going to say, little secret about Ohio. Every small hick town has at least 3 people. At least, minimum 3 people. I know of 6 that would be willing to jump into the ring for no more than a bottle of whiskey. Like, that's... Fuck it. They could have found anybody.
which leads us into the next contest featuring the Moonshining Men of Appalachia.
Yes.
Right.
The ancestor of one of our favorite wrestlers who is on his retirement tour around this time. Chuck Taylor.
This was Charles Taylor.
Taylor.
Only his friends call him Chuck.
Yeah, Charles Taylor and Jock Sampson taking on the Jollyville Jeepers.
Clean and jerk.
Clean and jerk. The Jollyville Jeepers. I'd hate to call jerk to his face, but unless I got a written agreement that he will not take offense. But yes, Clean and Jerk, the Jollyville Jeepers taking on the Moonshining Man of Appalachia. Natalie, I have to ask you, what was your impression of this tag team contest? This Australian rules tag team contest.
It was good. It was very good, actually, and you know.
Also, Petey, sorry, Natalie, I refuse to acknowledge that Chuck Taylor is retiring. He's going to the big performance center in the sky, and I will not hear otherwise.
Okay. All right, Natalie, as you were saying.
It was, one of the most enjoyable, matches on the card, and it did its job too by setting up, a little bit of foreshadowing, with the theft of the hooch,
Yes. The
which, I thoroughly enjoyed it. Everybody gelled well together. They probably have, wrestled, matches elsewhere in various combinations, so it was fun.
Yes. It was a fun contest to say the least, and the Jollyville Jeepers which is a
Jollyville Jeepers.
an odd contrast to their, if it were breaking the fourth wall, their usual personas as the Jollyville Fuckets.
So that was them.
Yes, yes.
You don't
Yeah,
say.
that is them. The men who, the other participant of the contest, if we go back, turn back the time on Fanny Pack to our first Beyond Wrestling episode, the man that Chuck Taylor ascribed to, spoke of when he said that he's got that black man strength.
Jock Simpson.
It was no, it was the gentleman. I think it was Jerk here. I forgot his name.
Now, Natalie, you and I are both fans of wrestling for a very, very long time. When you saw Chuck Taylor's tag team partner, Jock Sampson, did he not remind you of, let's see, Phineas Godwin, or going even further back, what was his name? Hillbilly Jim.
Hillbilly Jim. Yeah. You know.
That was Hillbilly
Or
Jim.
anybody in overalls, you know. Granted, was not as large as Haystacks, but you know, you go down that path of those
It
type
would
of
take
wrestlers.
3 Jock Sampsons to be as large as Haystacks.
3 or 4, but
to be
you
as
know,
large
the
as
whole-
Haystacks Calhoun.
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Right, but yeah, I was thinking along those lines as well. So.
Yeah. Fantastic. Drew, what was your impression of the contest?
One, I like a good tag match with back and forth, and this had that. That is very good. I also, as she's already touched on, the through story that goes with the hooch that everybody was such a fan of in the crowd.
Which was allegedly moonshine, according to what Derek St. Holmes had heard, that those gentlemen had allegedly brought some moonshine to the ring, and the proprietors in the crowd apparently were big fans of the hooch, which we'll find out more about later.
During the times of
later in the
Prohibition.
evening.
They would never do that. That touching on that though is the one thing that like started to bother me a little bit is yes, we're suspending our disbelief. It's old timey wrestling. I get it, but maybe don't poke at the. Well, I heard maybe in a few years. Don't. We know.
It's
We're
okay.
also behind the curtain.
It's okay to Drew. It's okay to poke the fourth wall just a little.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just to
Just a little.
flick at the glass.
It
He
did
said
take
it like
me a little
4
bit.
times in the one match, though.
Yeah, it did take me a little bit to narrow down the timeline, though. I think it helped. I did spend a good amount of this event trying to mentally narrow down the timeline. First
So
of all,
was I.
Yeah,
I was
Howard
originally
Taft is
thinking.
Supreme Court Justice. There. Okay, now we got the 30s. Okay.
Well, no,
Prohibition.
they played "Hail to the Chief" for him, and he was
Because
president.
he was former president. So he was-
former president. Okay.
Yeah, he was a former president, as you would do former president. Like if Bill Clinton came out
I thought
somewhere
they
and
were
be like,
doing it because he was the president at the time. So
No,
I was
he was
thinking it
Supreme
was
Court
like
Justice.
turn of the century for Taft.
No, it narrowed it down later on, and in one of the later matches they mentioned King Kong, and that was 33. This is happening roughly 33.
Right. I was set on the turn of the century until we saw the Europeans who were apparently from the Soviet Union, but the Soviet Union wasn't formed until 1922, because I was kind of set on turn of the century, 1900-ish, the aughts, if you will.
Yeah, we're helping to narrow down because they mentioned Supreme Court Justice William Howard Taft.
Okay.
They played Hail to the Chief because he served his presidency. Then he served his term on the Supreme Court. But they played Hail to the Chief because he was the president. You know, Bill Clinton comes out nowadays, you'll play Hail to the Chief.
I figured you play something from like Wiz Khalifa for Bill Clinton.
Yeah, he does have the black man tendencies. You know?
Slick Willie.
Yes. Yes. But yeah, it was the adventure. That was the mental adventure throughout the show, was narrowing down the time. Was it that same for you guys?
I was just gonna say I did the same thing. I was trying to figure out, okay, so Taz no longer president, King Kong, like what time are we dealing with? And I'm realizing now that we're breaking this down that this shit, the timeline is more convoluted than Five Nights at Freddy's. Like, how the hell did that happen? This
Natalie?
is wrestling, I'm going into
Natalie?
war. Like, God damn it.
Around what time were you thinking?
I was thinking, well, the only one that I really latched onto was the Hong Kong Fay Ray reference. So I'm like, okay, because so we're talking we're talking the 30s. But
The first Red Scare.
it's still a great movie, by the way.
Yeah.
Ridiculous special effects aside, but no one can scream like Fay Ray. So,
Yeah.
They kept putting little I don't want to say Easter eggs, but kind of, trying to guide you into accepting. Okay, this is where this is taking place. Yeah. So.
Yeah, they did a pretty good job, though. Though the following contest kind of confused. I would say going into the following contest kind of confused me a
This
little.
match really threw me off too.
Because we have Thunderkitty who fits.
The next contest featured the Lady Wrestlers, in which we saw Heidi the Riveter taking on everybody's favorite dame and a personal favorite of your buddy DJM, Thunderkitty.
Yes, which completely threw me off because I was like, Heidi the Riveter? Rosie the Riveter was
that would be
World War II.
World War II, 1940s-ish?
It would be from 1940s because we didn't join until like 1939, so 1940s. So it's like...
And then Thunderkitty is kind of the Mildred Burke era, which was kind of the 50s? Question mark?
Yeah, so it's like...
So this really was throwing me off, but I loved it because I love Heidi the Riveter. I think she's fantastic. I'm still not quite sure why she was the heel, but I'm happy anytime Thunderkitty gets cheered because I love Thunderkitty and I love everything about her. I just love everything about Thunderkitty, and when I realized what promotion this was, I knew, boom. This is Thunderkitty's promotion. This is her house. This was made for her.
Yes. Natalie, what was your impression of the Lady Grapplers?
The Lady Grapplers, yes. This was an excellent match, which thank God for indie wrestling, or else you wouldn't get to see, Diva Revolution and whatnot aside. You wouldn't get to see some quality women's wrestling. So I thought the pre-match shenanigans were fun with Thunderkitty.
Natalie, did you hear one of them call the other a hussy?
Yes. No, I think there was another adjective too.
The language
for smoking.
So, that salty language, though.
Salty language in the crowd. The best thing though was the crowd was totally into it. They did the prerequisite ooh noise once that insult was hurled. So I don't think I'd ever seen Heidi the Riveter in action, so that was delightful.
She is a descendant of the current Chikara Young Lions Cup champion and noted current women's indie wrestler Heidi Lovelace. She is likely her great-grandmother or something.
Yes.
Likely, very likely. It was a great match. Probably the only and this was a minor issue because the editing and the production on this was excellent, was the abrupt cut at the end, but hey,
that's where they could
left
snip
them
the
wanting
film.
more, so
It's where they snipped the film. I think they just
that must have been it, yeah.
just miss-snipped. It was just an odd moment.
Some weird degrading thing after all these years of this film reel being around.
Nice. Drew, what was your impression of this contest?
Well, actually, I was going to say to DJ M's point is that I think the reason they sort of wanted to play Riveter as the heel was to bring out the, oh, maybe women shouldn't be in these type of things, as that were, playing off the timeline. That
Okay.
was what I thought.
All right.
And then playing into that, Thunderkitty played into the opposite role really well. Did throw the overall timeline into a weird loop, but still made for a really, really fun match overall. Really, really great from
Also,
both of them.
Petey.
I've seen both of their granddaughters, and their granddaughters have done well. So.
Yes.
Also, Petey, I don't know if you appreciated the finish as much as I did, but Heidi the Riveter, even with a little trickery, a little heel tactics, she won with the alligator clutch with her hand on the ropes. That was the alligator clutch.
That is fantastic. Yes. And it was a fun contest. Thunderkitty in her prime. Thunderkitty as a young Thunderkitty before she went
Thunderkitty
in.
never left her prime. Thunderkitty is still in her prime.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Even
Love you,
many years.
You're awesome.
Yes. That's why she's leading legendary as the eldest one. But that was a fantastic contest, and it leads into the next contest, playing more of the story of the Prohibition fun. We had the lobbying legislators of an anti-saloon land taking on the fabulous blonde family.
With your referee, Jesse Kasopoulos.
Yes. In a 3-on-3 contest, 6-man tag, with a lady involved. Dude, what I have to ask you, what was your impression of this 6-man, the anti-legislators of, anti-saloon land men taking on the blonde?
First of all, the good senator, Cameron, is actually a descendant of a rather talented indie wrestler from the Detroit scene by the name of Cameron Sky. So that was another guy from the Michigan Indy wrestling scene that I noticed, and was like, hey, that bears a very striking resemblance to Cameron Sky. And he's actually pretty good. If you could tell, his ancestor, the senator, got the microphone and spoke to the masses. Quite the political orator, the senator, and his legislative tag team partner, if you will, not exactly endearing themselves to the fans there in the arena, Petey Rave.
No, not at all.
But I guess overall, think of the children, guys. Think of the children.
Prohibition. Think of the children. Won't anybody think of the children?
Prohibition.
I think that battle has been lost a long time ago.
That is the greatest chant ever.
Yes. Drew, I'll go with you first. Drew, what was your impression of this 6-man contest?
Again, the tag matches, as I've said, anytime there's multiple people and it can work well, and you can follow the action pretty well, I always like it. It's something that's not easy on the cameraman, for sure, but it's very, very fun. The lobbying legislators were a funny group, to say the least. I'm always in these wrestling things for the laughs, to be honest, and they got me. The 4 non-blondes reference at the beginning had me singing, like He-Man would, and it was absolutely wonderful. There was something about this match that was just a lot of fun, and it was, again, that throughput that goes throughout the evening of the hooch and the prohibition and the evils of alcohol and blah blah blah, which was just hilarious.
Fascinating, to say the least. Natalie, what was your impression of this contest and the shenanigans thereof?
Oh, there's so many shenanigans. Yeah, I got a kick out of the prohibition chant. That was delightful. I think during this match also, it was kind of everything kind of coalesced. You had great action in the ring. The commentator, who, play-by-play guy who you mentioned earlier, did throw out some, mentioned Telex and Look magazine, which, for a, fashion nerd as I am, my ears peaked about that too. So,
Petey, while I was doing my research on Olde Wrestling, I hear that they're in negotiations for a deal on the Dumont Network.
But it, it was set up very well. They went. Actually, the opening was very retro. Put the the weakest link in there with the chick. But that's a fine line, though. And I mentioned it before, when you have a male-female dynamic in the ring, because you don't want to turn it into a Lifetime movie. They handle it perfectly, though.
That's where Chuck Taylor comes in.
Yes. That's where Chuck Taylor comes in. It was a fantastically fun moment, and the blondes were fun as hell as well. And yeah, the hooch. We found out about the hooch. They gathered the evidence, and we found out that there was a warrant. There's going to be, I believe this is the point where we found out, or I think later on we found out a warrant had been put out on the Moonshining Men of Appalachia. Based on the evidence that they had enough evidence to arrest them. So what will happen to our heroes, the Moonshine Men of Appalachia? We'll have to find out in the future.
They may have some connections to John Dillinger, Petey Rave, but we'll have to find out that on a later episode, because we went right into the intermission for this one.
Yes, a pie eating contest. We had a pie eating contest because why not? And it was actually a fun little silent movie clip with a kid taking on Big Sue Jackson. And was it? Yeah, Big Sue Jackson in a pie eating contest, and Sue Jackson trying to cheat. And then the kid having come up and slapping Sue Jackson in the face with a pie. It was just fantastic. Well, what did you guys think of the intermission moment?
This was straight out of the Three Stooges.
Yes.
Yeah, it had every bit of slapstick. I don't know if they just grabbed the kid out of the crowd. I really want to think they did, because I think that's brilliant. Anytime you can, like, for something like this, when you can involve the crowd, especially kids, like, make that, like, magic moment for, like, the children in the audience, because they don't understand everything, but, like, making something funny like that for the kids is always going to be great. And it was just hilarious. Like, and it reminded me, like, for some reason, this entire thing, every single match, like, it feels like they're going for what's called fuck it adjustment. Just like, fuck it. Let's put this in. Let's whatever. Like, and just go for it. And adding something like a pie eating contest in this at once is hilarious, even in the time. Like, even if it was just like a pie eating contest in the middle of a wrestling promotion, that's great. But then it sort of pushes it back to, well, yeah, a wrestling promotion back in the days of any fighting promotion is going to have other things on the side, because it's not going to be all just the wrestling or the boxing.
This was definitely pre-Gorgeous George. So.
Yes. So you got to have the sideshows. You got to have the variety. You got to have the whiz and the bang and the flame whistles.
You need Zaz, kid.
Zaz. Natalie, what did you think of the intermission moment?
Just like the kind of beginning, opening shenanigans that started before the lion taming and the weightlifting. Pie eating contest was very, very slapstick and entertaining, and again, not out of place. Come on, I mean, this is the era of wrestling a bear, and
which at yet another exhibition, Extravaganza of Wrestling Exhibitions, upcoming, I believe, late in August. Tracy Smothers is going to wrestle a bear.
God. Not Tracy Smothers.
Tracy Smothers, oh my God. Talking about
else,
old time. Okay.
Who else would it be besides Tracy Smothers? Oh God.
Apparently, that's what's going to be part of that of yet another extravaganza of wrestling exhibitions later this month.
Petey,
once again in Norwalk, Ohio.
This might be the promotion of the season. We might have to go back.
Yes.
We might have to come back to old time wrestling.
Are they going to be? You're saying that there might be, in my neck of the woods, a wrestling promotion of such things soon.
Like I said, Drew, there were more than a few Michigan and Ohio guys on this show, so it's probably not too far from either one of us.
Yeah, it is the showing of this classic contest. Of course, it happened many times ago, but they're showing it again. You get to see it. It's
you
going
can see
to be
it via the old Nickelodeon shows. You have to put your nickel in and turn the crank.
At the Huron County Fairgrounds in Norwalk, Ohio. Barn doors open at 2:30. $12 advance, 15-day of show. Kids enter free. And it's going to feature Tracy Smothers versus a bear.
Nice.
What else as if there's really nothing else left for Tracy Smothers to do besides wrestle a bear.
Exactly.
Did I mention the fuck it adjustment?
Yes. Yes, and we can look forward to that. But moving on to the next contest, we had a battle royal. Ostensibly, although every man for himself, was divided into two teams: Yankee Land versus Dixieland, in a every man for himself battle royal. We had, and they didn't have them. I did my best to transcribe the members of the contest. We had, representing Yankee Land, the barber Derek Austin, I think, Nicholas Valentino, self-proclaimed greatest wrestler in the world, Nicholas Valentino, old-timer Jeff King, and Burly Bill Taylor. Representing Dixieland, we had Dr. Jacob Owen out of New Orleans, because of course. We had former member of the family. I don't remember which family, but now residing in Miami, Florida, Brian Castellini. Football standout guy Juice Jennings.
Petey, I heard through the grapevine, Petey, that Mr. Valentino and Mr. Castellini had some heat.
Yes.
Had some fights on a certain side of Chicago, Petey Rave.
I've heard that as well. Both people, involved with certain associates
in
and
Chicago,
certain rivalries in Chicago. And of course, rounding out the Dixieland team, we had out of El Paso, Texas, we had none other than Gregory Iron.
El Paso, Texas.
Yes.
Gregory Iron.
Yes, wearing a wonderful hat. Natalie, what was your impression of the Yankee Land versus Dixieland Battle Royal that was briefly interrupted by the Red Scare?
The Red Scare, Dateline 1942, the Red Menace takes on the Squared Circle. Will the North and South join sides? We go to Natalie Serjeant for her take.
They did. They temporarily, united to, deal with the communist menace.
Yes.
And which was humorous. As far as the match itself, I mean, battle royals, by their very nature, can get messy and convoluted, especially when you're not familiar with, all the participants. But they did make it interesting as far as, they'd already alluded to, potentially a dirty referee, which will come into play later. So I did enjoy that, and it's all through this card of, not only the matches being their own contained little stories, but pushing, but basically there's a common thread all through the card. So, but
Yeah.
it was fun. Did
Yeah,
what a
it
battle
was-
royal's supposed to do. So.
Yes, it's at a good place. It was fun. Drew, what was your thoughts on Yankee Land versus Dixieland?
Well, one, the red scare at the beginning, hilarious. Very much. Anytime you can make a joke statement like that, like, yeah, no, the Yankees and the Dixies are gonna fight, and then the commie bastards are coming
They're
in.
going to fight against Mother Russia.
Exactly. I love that. I'm the guy that loves the Captain America Captain America punching Hitler in the face was like my desktop background for forever. Like
Yes.
that kind of hilarity and like just screw you guys, like F communism sort of thing. Always my bag. So liked that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Getting into it, like was alluded by Natalie, that if you're not super familiar with everybody, like I am usually not on these cards, it's hard to follow at times. Also, when it's supposed to be a free-for-all, but it's not really going to be a free-for-all until like the end of the match, that makes it even more difficult. But if it's still shot and played in a good way, then it can still be fun to follow, even for someone who doesn't follow much wrestling. And that's the thing, is every once in a while on a card you need the just people bashing into each other. And that's what this was just everyone just bashing into each other as hard as possible, which was great.
Yeah.
Petey, I want to
yes.
ask, one gentleman on this side, on the Dixieland side, he appeared to be a player at the University of Nebraska. Apologies, Natalie. Do you think he was in any way related to Mr. Touchdown, Marcangelo Setti?
I imagine they probably have ran in the same circles, or ran similar circles at different times. They probably have probably been scouted by ancestors as and descendants of the same.
When I
people.
looked at the webpage for Olde Wrestling, I did see Dasher Hatfield on the roster. So
Yeah.
perhaps.
So, maybe. I'm not sure where Mr. Touchdown went to college, went to school. And I'm not sure where.
Maybe we can ask Bryce. Maybe we can ask Bryce.
One of these days, we'll ask Bryce. But who knows? I would like to think so. But yes. And we also had some more fun from Gregory Iron and more of the, like you said, the establishing of the storyline with the dirty referee, the scoundrel, the corrupt official. And we had even a moment in this match with the corrupt official coming into play. And then we kind of left it at that until later on in the contest. But before we got to that, we had a couple other contests. We had the return of the true world champion of professional wrestling, managed by the Imperial Robert Evans. We had the Sheik, Caden Assad. Putting on an open challenge to the current world champion, who was apparently not there, not available.
Matthew Cross.
Apparently he was indisposed. He couldn't make it.
I believe he was on a world tour.
Yes, he was on a world tour, so obviously he couldn't make it.
Last I heard, the world champion Matthew Cross was perhaps fighting in an underground promotion based in Mexico.
Yes. And leave it to the dastardly villain to pick a time when he knows the hero cannot be there to call him a coward and call him out.
However, there was an intervener. None other than Zachariah Gowan.
Young kid with a lot of heart and a lot of fire in his gut, with a dream and hope. Had a lot to overcome.
Now,
losing his leg to a train accident.
Once again, to break the fourth wall. Zach Gowen, everybody, who a lot of you might remember for his brief cup of coffee with World Wrestling Entertainment. I know Zach Gowen best as being, for all intents and purposes, yet another Detroit indie guy on this show.
Yes.
He is very, still to this day, a pretty regular on the Detroit indie scene. Still wrestling with one leg. And this really got a kick out of me. And hearing Zachariah tell the story of how he lost his leg while still managing to fight his way into the squared circle against the champ, it was quite endearing. He is a hero.
Yes. Natalie, what was your impression of this World Championship contest?
Well, I had to kind of smile at the revamped origin story of this Zachariah Gowen. I do remember him from WWE a million years ago when dinosaurs roamed the earth, but I still had the same impression that I did when I saw him back then. Is like that dude is wrestling on one leg, and look, and it looks convincing.
He was actually a pretty good wrestler on the Detroit indie scene and got signed by TNA actually in the early 2000s under the name Tenacious Z.
Yes.
Before he actually got signed by the WWE. So he was never a novelty act.
Right. The match was, again, it was a very good match. I mean, it told the story like it was supposed to. Of course, there were shenanigans. Crowd was into it, which this far into the card, sometimes there's crowd fatigue, but there wasn't. I didn't notice that, but it was good to see Zachariah Gowen.
Yeah, it's good to see the man, the young kid, fighting still. Drew, what was your impression of this championship bout?
One, I believe we said it at the beginning of this promotion, but I would like some DNA tests or somebody check the race on the Sheik if we could. Jesus.
Yeah.
God. Give me a turban and promote me in the WWE. I'll be Sheik. Like, whatever. Like, apparently. But besides that,
like I said, neither of the Davari brothers were available, apparently.
Yeah, apparently.
But the cool thing is, to me, at the beginning of this match, because I was not familiar with Mr. Gowen, I thought that there was some sort of joke going on until partway through the match. I'm like, oh, that dude really doesn't have a leg.
Yeah.
Like,
No, he doesn't. No.
That really threw me for a loop in the middle of the match when I realized that, like, that wasn't the gimmick. He just really didn't have a leg, and he was really doing well.
Yeah.
Like you said, he isn't using the no leg as the gimmick. He's just, I have no leg. I'm gonna make a story about my no leg because you're gonna see that I don't have a leg, so I gotta make my story about my no leg, or you're gonna ask, what the fuck happened to your leg? So, and then he wrestled really, really well. It was a very interesting card to say the least, part of the card to say the least, but it was a fun one, for sure. Really surprised me out of that kid. Now knowing that he hit the WWE at one point doesn't surprise me in the least.
Yeah, and it was a well wrestled match. It was fun. I think it again the ambiguous ethnicity of the Sheik is very fitting for, I think, the time. Very fitting for the time. I highly doubted there was ever a Middle Eastern wrestler in that time in wrestling. I have a feeling that they may not, even then, probably weren't Middle Eastern at all.
Once again, the Sheik, the original Sheik from Big Time Wrestling, was from Michigan as well.
Yes.
Ed Farhat, everybody.
Yes. Ah, fantastic. And then, that was the championship contest. Shenanigans abound left and right with that. That being said, the champion, as he calls himself, as Robert Evans calls him, came out victorious through those shenanigans and was still the champion. We'll have to find out what happens with that belt and if Matthew Cross will come back and challenge him and claim his spot as the true champion. We'll see in the future.
Hopefully he makes his way back from the underground fighting world of Mexico. I hear he's been dealing with demons and a strange gentleman from South Africa that likes to dive off of things.
Yes.
And perhaps vampires.
Yes. Yes.
It's a lot of havoc. It's a lot of havoc he's got to deal with, Matthew Cross.
Which that being said, that contest finished, and we get into the next contest. We have a couple of big boys, a couple of the large gentlemen, taking on each other in a nice little brawl. We have Dustin Lillard taking on Big Sue Jackson. Just a couple of big dudes. We had the Lion Tamer Dustin Lillard. There's not much to say. A couple of big burly men here to engage in fisticuffs of the big and burly variety. I don't know.
You had Dustin Lillard taking on a boy named Sue.
Yes. Natalie, what did you think of these big men in their barn burner of a contest?
A match like this, the only requirement is, that two large men continue to hit each other. Of course, there was a little added comedy with the ferocious lion, which had appeared at the beginning of the card, which kind of, I don't mind a little comedy, but yeah, I think it did what it was supposed to do. I don't think there was, and I don't think there was any grand expectation out of this match. So it delivered.
Yeah, it was a fun contest. A couple of big men and a man with a mustache. Drew, speaking of a man who used to have a mustache. Drew, what was your thoughts on the contest? I'm just hurt.
This is just gonna bring out the sadness, apparently, in certain people, mostly the hibbity-bibbered.
Yes.
No, but she's right. Almost all the time, a match of large gentlemen is going to be mostly keep the large gentlemen up and beating on each other and keep the joke going. Whatever.
A regular Clash of the Titans, like King Kong versus Godzilla. A real-life monster movie come to life.
The joke has, that gimmick has to keep going. And to me, the gimmick on the entire promotion is the look of everything just seems right. And these guys look straight out of one of those, like bad videos you'd see of, a guy catching a cannonball. Those dudes. Those are what those guys are. And they looked exactly like those guys, and it worked. Made me laugh. But big guy wrestlers are going to be big guy wrestlers, and they better be able to play their gimmick well, because not everybody's going to be Andre the Giant. And these guys played it well. So what can I say?
Yeah. It was a fun contest. These big men. There's not much to say about it, but it kind of played off well, and it paid off well. It was just big dudes hitting each other. Boom, 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 boom. And then it led well and kind of transitioned well into the main event of the evening. A true contest with high stakes. We had Mustache and Mask versus Mustache and Mask. Some in the Mexican wrestling circles would call a lucha de apuestas. Very complex lucha de apuestas. We had Marion Fontaine and Jervis Cottonbelly, aka Old Fashioned, versus the Columbus Crusher and Jeremy Madrox. Yeah,
I do believe the official for this match was Beverly Remington, who I
Yes.
assume is the great granduncle of smooth sailing Ashley Remington of Chikara.
Yes.
Who, by the way, Beverly Remington bore a strong resemblance to time traveling Bryce Remsburg.
Yes. One of those odd things. Could be like a cousin of a cousin or something like that, you know.
Step cousin-in-law, twice
Who
removed,
knows?
on his father's side, like
Yeah,
like,
something like that.
like Dalton Castle.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, this main event contest, we had Jervis Cottonbelly, the sweetest man in wrestling, who I think both DJ and I love, in his prime, in his time, taking on a couple of villains, dastardly villains.
Ragamuffins, ruffians.
Yes.
No good nicks even.
Drew, what was your thoughts on the main event?
Two things about the main event. One, rest in peace to a mustache. Sometimes they have to go away, but they are never forgotten. But also, I've never seen a wrestler, I don't think, where they were essentially a boss battle. And what I mean by that is there's the big glowing part that you're supposed to hit in every Zelda boss. And apparently Cottonbelly has one of those, and that makes me laugh.
Yes.
The fact that they played that up like during the match, the announcer played it up, really hilarious. Also, speaking of a video game, every time they called him Fontaine, all I thought of was BioShock. Can't help myself. And that's going into the gimmick of the match.
It was of that time period.
Indeed.
Yes. Thank you kindly.
And that was fun. The M. Night Shyamalama Ding Dong twist at the end was fantastic. Seeing it coming from a mile away.
Yes.
But that to me just with a promotion like this, you gotta end on that note. You gotta end on that really like just super funny, super tongue-in-cheek moment, right? It just was great. And then the cutting of the hair felt very old school WWE, and we all know who I'm referencing at this point. And it would, again, that's something that gets me. And then, can we talk about the Five Nights at Freddy's timeline getting screwed up again with the giant corded set of clippers?
I was like, wait, what's going on? I thought they was gonna give him a good old straight shave, with a razor, bring out the razor, sharpen it up, and put some cream.
I actually would have thought that would be hilarious if they just brought out like a giant comic shape straight razor and just done it that way. Would have been fantastic.
But then we had the corded clippers, and which is like, wait, what's going on? It's like the commentator is like, oh, he's got the clippers, the electric clippers.
Right.
Hey, they thought of everything. I guess the barber came well. I guess business is booming for the barber.
It's like, what? Where's the timeline? What's going on? When is this? Natalie, what was your impression of the main event?
Natalie, I'm so sorry. You just have this most incredulous look on your face.
The main event, this was delightful. I think I found a favorite. I do have, it's even rarer now. The masked wrestler that has a slight comedy tilt to it, a la Curryman. But exactly. But I thought just the back and forth was fun. The crowd was certainly into it and had their favorites. Any kind of, this is a gimmick that, thanks to the WWE and others we've seen like a million times. So it takes a special amount of effort to make it.
Well, this was before. This was long before Titan Sports. You understand? This was long before.
Before Capital Wrestling, right?
Right. This was long before the McMahon family came into this. This was well before even Vince Sr. came along.
Yes.
So
this was when when Jess McMahon was still in the Northeast.
Yes.
There you go. But it was a lot of fun. I certainly enjoyed this match. So.
Yeah, it was a fun main event with a lot of fun moments. Steve, you had to enjoy this main event, right?
I think Marion Fontaine is highly underrated and highly underappreciated. His former tag team partner, Ryan Drago, is now known as the one half of the Vaudevillains in NXT. And this is just so perfect. This promotion, along with Jervis and along with Thunderkitty, this was made for this gentleman. And the tag team contest was tip-top condition from start to finish, PD Brave.
Yes, it was fantastically fun and so many good moments with the dastardly referee storyline coming back into play. We find out that he was under the mask all along. Ooh.
Yes. PD, can we come back to old-time wrestling later this season? Can we, please?
We can. We make the rules around here. It's our podcast. We can do what we want to. Yes, old-timey wrestling. Let's talk about a couple more things. Those are the matches, and I know we wanted to touched on the production throughout the show. It was an interestingly well-made productions. I mean, we could nitpick a couple of things, like on maybe they could have done the proper filter, or done it 4x3, blah blah blah, blah and been be picky. But it was a fantastic production, top to bottom. What do you guys think of the production?
I have harped on this before, and this is me coming from my background, as people may well know, spending way too much time with audio folks, engineers, and files, and the like. Good sound's not hard. Takes a little bit of time. It's money. If you're going to put on a production like this, and you're going to sell it after the fact, make sure your sound's good. And these guys did it 100%. There were some mishaps in the ring. I'll give you that. But to me, that sort of played into this is a fly-by-night, old-timey organization sort of thing, so that worked. But the announcer was always crystal clear, always perfect in the mix. The live band was fantastic.
Yes.
And you could hear them pretty well. And that's the thing that always gets me is if I can't hear what's going on well, as a person coming into this as a new guy, I can't follow anything, and I automatically lose interest. And this kept my interest the whole way through because I could follow along with the story.
Yeah,
and it's so important.
Yeah, and I really want to talk about the live band, which was fun and fantastic. It is just so fit well with the whole aesthetic, which was just a live band playing all the old timey themes and all the royalty free public domain music that they could muster. It was just fantastic, and it was a humdinger. I'll tell you. Natalie, what was your impression of the production value?
The production was, excellent. I mean, especially with indie wrestling, because you're not always, especially me, who hasn't watched consistently since, I don't know, Dinosaurs Roam the Earth, CM Punk, Ring of Honor days.
Yeah.
So if you give too many, challenges to your audience as far as bad audio or bad shots or, whatever the case may be, then your product, they're not going to fight too hard to get to it again. But apart from some minor itty bitty, things, which just is going to happen, I thought it was really well done. I love the live music. The live music was that was awesome, and that you could hear it pretty well. In probably not the most ideal location to capture sound. So, and with, we still have, not even indie wrestling, even larger promotions, just because of their style, where it's like a static shot into a ring. These guys did really good with multiple angles and whatnot. So.
Yes, just fantastic production and really fun. Yeah, it's just fun. I have to ask, we can wrap it up now with the final thoughts. Drew, what was your impression of the event overall, the promotion overall?
Well, my impression can be summed up pretty easily. As we said at the beginning,
you don't have to do a haiku of it, Drew.
I don't.
We're not asking for a haiku.
Okay, good, because I didn't write one. You reminded me of something I have to do in like 3 minutes. I note. But it can be summed up really easily. I'm not usually a wrestling guy these days. I fell off about when Mick Foley fell off, if that tells anybody anything. So when I get into these things,
no, he was thrown off.
Yeah. Indeed, he was thrown off of everything because he was freaking Mick Foley. But when I get into these things, it's fun to me to see what's going on and just how the story's played out and like how the sort of medium has grown. And something like this, it's not far from me. And it's at the end of this month. It's going to be hard for me to figure out my schedule, but I wouldn't be past going.
Yes.
And I think that says a lot about what I thought of this. It was hilarious, and I had a good time, and I might be willing to drive an hour and a half for another good time.
Yes. So. You might be able to go see a screening of this of their next event.
Yes, I might be able to go to a nice theater and see one of the reels that they are showing at the local Cineplex.
And you might end up seeing one of your ancestors have shown up there. We might see old great Grandpa Snyder.
Still sporting that mustache.
Is your family directly originally from Ohio? Or when did you guys move here at some point?
And did they all wear mustaches?
The Favaro side is the one we can trace back the farthest, and we can trace them back to Sicily. I forget what year they came over. My dad has the Ellis Island paper somewhere, and I can't remember where. But I think when they came over, they went straight to Ohio, if I'm not mistaken. But, I'm not sure.
The Ohioan family, the Ohioan representatives, still sporting the mustaches. Natalie, what were your overall thoughts on Olde Wrestling and this Extravaganza of Wrestling Exhibitions?
It was a lot of fun. Again, I'm so completely out of it. Any chance that I get to kind of sit down and see what's going on is a fun time. As mentioned before, this was like a tailor-made promotion for the likes of Thunderkitty, who I find hilarious and interesting to see her work as a face, somewhat, not really. Jervis Cottonbelly, come on, that's just so much fun. But it's just it's very, I guess, heartening to see that that such a high level of production is happening on the indie scene. So I don't think there's going to be many excuses to have they nailed it. We mentioned it earlier. The commentator / play-by-play guy was excellent, which sometimes doesn't happen in indie wrestling and can detract from the product. And he only enhanced it. Yeah, I enjoyed it.
Yeah. Yeah, it is just a fantastic promotion. Deej, what was your overall feeling of Oldie Wrestling, if I don't already know?
Old time wrestling, I thought, was highly enjoyable. One thing that I am always in favor of is high concept wrestling. Wrestling that does more than just say, this is a wrestling event, this is a wrestling contest, and here's what we're doing, which is, the very standard mainstream television wrestling. And I love when there is a high concept or the promotion itself is a gimmick. And I've really enjoyed that from start to finish. Also, this show from start to finish, in the words of the man formerly known as Bryan Danielson, in talking about Chikara, was an example of PG, family-friendly wrestling done right. Everything about this, top to bottom, you could bring the kids. There was nothing remotely blue or sour about it. And I fully endorse that wholeheartedly. Again, Derek St. Holmes, really underrated as a play-by-play man and a manager. He's very, very good. I wish he was more on the indie scene. Also, seeing a lot of guys from the region of the states that I live in was also amusing. Yes. And anytime there's Thunderkitty, I'm always happy. Yes. So, yes, old-time wrestling, I give it 2 thumbs up.
Yeah. You just gotta love this promotion. People, y'all should check it out. It is just a fantastic promotion. If you're near the Norwalk, Ohio area, go check out the screening of their next event they have prepared. Just go see some classic, truly classic wrestling in the form of oldie wrestling. And just do it. It's just fun. It's wonderful.
Just do it.
Just do it.
Don't let your dreams be dreams.
You said tomorrow yesterday.
Exactly. All right. And those were our thoughts on oldie wrestling. I hope you all should check it out. It's going to be a fantastic time. It is a fantastic time, and it's worth checking out. You can see it on Smart Mark Video. You can get all the downloads. You can also see more info on Olde Wrestling, or that's OLDE Wrestling.com. They have one of them websites. You see. It's like a newspaper on your TV screen. Go on the website. You can see future events. You can buy the DVDs on there. The discs, physical media, because it's perfect for fandom. So go check it out. Natalie, I'll ask you. What do you have going on the internet? Where can people find you? What do you got going on?
Natalie,
what can you plug?
Have you finally started a podcast yet, Natalie? Join the club.
No, I haven't fallen for that siren call yet. So I know. What's wrong with me?
If you're not doing at least 2 podcasts, I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, I mean, I need to get on the bus, man. I need to get on the bus. So, as far as where can people find me, the Twitters, at Stormy Sooner. It's going to get really football intense here in a couple of weeks. So fair warning.
So.
Fair warning. But as far as anything to plug, my buddies at IHWE Radio did a podcast recently. I think it went up on Wednesday. You can find it where all fine podcasts are located, where they talk with a couple of people about Roddy Piper. They had Mike Lano on and a couple other luminaries. So if you need more wrestling content, check that out.
Yes. Go check that out. Drew, where can people find you on the internet? What music podcast may you be appearing on in the near future?
I may or may not be appearing with a certain fella from Miami every week on Tuesday. You can get Record Breakers. It's recordbreakerpodcast.com.
I was on that once.
Twice.
Yes, you were.
No,
Twice. Talking about the progressive metals, as it were. Musical book club with PD Rave here called Record Breakers. Go check that out because I credit PD Rave mostly with coming up with the idea because like had wanted to do me, him, and Swigert wanted to do a music show for forever, and then he came to us and was like, "Hey, what if we do this thing?" And it's worked out really well so far.
And you get a fourth guy that doesn't like anything.
Brad likes things. Mainly
Brad likes
Rush.
things, sometimes. Rush.
Mainly Rush and jazz.
Aquabats. Yeah, that's about it. No, but we give him a hard time. But it's a fun show that I like to do. It's a good time. If you hate music and fun, you can check me out. Most of my social media is on Twitter these days. At XDruciferX. Because the guy squatting on Drucifer won't get off of it. Might as well put the straight up bullshit on my Twitter name. So.
Yes. Yeah. DJM. What do you got going on these days? What don't you have going on these days?
I got a lot of stuff. You guys know where to find it.
Yeah. DeltaJulietMike.com.
Just go.
He's at Just Call Me DJM. I'm at PD Rev. The show's at Fanny Pack WP, FannyPackWrestling.com, Rebelli.net for this and other shows. Just do the things. Subscribe to us, like, share, YouTube, all the things. Until next time, hasta los huevos.
Oh my God, Petey! Where was Matt Classic?
Where was he?
I can't believe this show didn't have Matt Classic. Oh my God.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.
And I do too.
No Matt Classic.
That just hit me just now. Oh my goodness, Matt Classic would be perfect for this.
Yes, he would. Oh my God.
Oh my God. Yes. Where is Matt Classic? Okay. I will let you and Drucefer get ready to talk about music that Brett won't like.
Yes. Who knows? Well,
we all know he won't like it. We all know.
Here's the thing. I like to consider him the classic rock curmudgeon of the group. That's
why we have no space for Squiggles, though he'd be perfect for the show.
Well, but that's the thing is like the thing that I like is that we have very much 4 different minds of music, right? Where we're going to bring in radically different things, and we're going to bring in things that maybe not all of us is going to like because we don't come at music the same way. But that also begets us stuff like finding Bad Rabbits, or one of the ones that Brett really did like, Chromeo.
Yes.
He found a lot to like in Chromeo, which was really odd because I went into that thinking Brett's going to hate this because it's Chromeo, and then he was like, "No, this was hilarious," and it had Hall & Oates written all over it. It was awesome.
Yes.
Like, okay.
And
Brett.
he found stuff to dig about Lubbock Stereo too. Yeah.
Yeah, like that's the thing is like, yeah, he'll get on the case of music a lot. and that's what I like. I don't know. I think that's what makes the show interesting. Is like the disagreements.
I get it. I'm just
it's fun.
I'm just
we like to, but you're
it's just jokes.
Just jokes, man. Yeah, no, but it is fun to poke at him. It is fun to poke.
Oh God! I just checked Twitter. Don't make that reference ever again.
Yes.
Yes. All right, I'm gonna stop the broadcast.
Wasn't
Thank
that
you so
on
much for
Rock?
being us with us, Diamond
Good
Club.
night, everybody. Good night, Diamond
Thank
Club.
you, Tondagasa, for being the guy watching the show. And Sunbun. Shout out to Sunbun.
We're winning
if you're
a
still
championship
watching.
next year.
Nice. All right, see you guys. Love you guys.